Welcome back to Garden Talk, brought to you by the Penn State Erie County Extension Master Gardeners. I'm your co-host for today, Mike Bailey, along with Ellen DePlacido. And good afternoon, Ellen.
Good afternoon, Mike.
Okay, we've been
Keep
jumping all.
changing our time
Yes,
here.
we do. I was going to say we keep jumping around the clock, don't we?
Right.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Yeah.
today we're going to talk about planting spring bulbs. Okay, we usually do
hmm
this, towards the end of the season, this time of year, because if you've been out to the stores, especially places like Lowe's or Home Depot or the nursery stores, there's bulbs all over, and probably have been for the
hmm
better part of a month or so or better. And you know, so if you want to add some color to your yard in the springtime, this is the time to really start to think about it. But it needs a little bit of planning, doesn't it, Ellen?
mm Yes, it does.
Yeah, it
That's right.
does. And
hmm
how many times have we said the word planning over this past year?
I know.
Yeah, it's so very, very important,
It
when it comes
is.
to, having things turn out the way you would like them. But where can we, well, as far as where do we start? Okay. It's about finding that site. Okay.
Uh-huh.
The amount of sunshine. Okay. Early in the year in particular. Now, because remember, under those deciduous trees, it's probably going to be pretty sunny in March, but come the latter part of May, it's going to be probably those trees are going to be covered with leaves, and it's going to be quite shady underneath there, and that's an issue if you want your bulbs to bloom year to year. Okay.
hmm
If you're
hmm
just using them as annuals and going to pull them out, or you don't care what happens to them, that's fine. And a lot of people do treat their spring bulbs in that particular manner. They treat them as annuals, and they simply replant every fall because the bulb that you plant in the fall has all of its, proper components, okay, to give you a good blossom in the spring.
hmm
Because, as we'll talk about a little bit later, those leaves need that sunshine to develop those, the nutrients to put down back down into that bulb to, have a good growth cycle the following year. But you may be concerned about that, and you may not. There's also if the site is too wet.
hmm
Bulbs don't like to have wet feet, do they? We've said that over
Nope,
and over again.
not at
Most
all.
most plants don't. Okay, and if your soil is hard clay, you might need to amend it. So do some of that. Uh, so looking around, for the short term, that's wonderful. Okay, longer term, you need to provide a little bit more care. So what about purchasing bulbs? They've been around, like I said, in the stores for a while, haven't they?
Right. Yes, like you said, if you walk through any store right now, you could probably find bulbs, even your grocery stores. So you want to buy those bulbs as soon as possible and then store them in a cool place until it's time to plant them. Sometimes it might be even better if you can to do a mail order because those orders will come in later, closer to the planting time, and you won't have to find a place to store them and they won't get so old,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah. Ellen, can I add a little bit here? Okay. The
Sure.
other thing that you should do, and I took me a while to learn
hmm
this, is when you come to daffodils, there's a number of different types of daffodils, early, mid
hmm
spring, late spring, etc., and different heights.
hmm
Read the information on the package before
Right.
you buy it so you know exactly what you're getting. Don't just go on the basis of the picture. Oh, this one's
hmm
pretty. I'm going to buy that. No, take a
Right.
look,
Okay.
at the
hmm
growing requirements. Okay, go ahead.
hmm Well, it's kind of like we say about seeds too. Always read the package so you know where you want to plant them, when you want to plant them, and so on. But basically, if you're going to plant spring bulbs, you want to wait until the soil drops a little bit below 55 degrees because you don't want those bulbs to start growing too soon. Okay. Um, Mike, I know you've told me you've even extended your planting time sometimes into early December.
Yeah, I've taken
But
away the snow and planted the bulbs. Yes.
right, right. But remember, your bulbs need about 12 weeks of temperatures below 40 degrees so that they can get the coolness that they need to be healthy. Okay? So then you look at your soil, and if your soil is hard packed, you're probably going to want to apply some organic material to that soil to give that soil the looseness and the consistency that the bulbs will need to grow. And if you want to leave the bulbs in for future flowers, fertilize them now. with about 5 pounds of 10-10-10 for every 100 square feet. Or to make it more simple, just put a fourth to a half a teaspoon in each hole as you plant those
Okay,
bulbs.
that works.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what about planting, Mike?
What
How do
about
you plant
planting?
them?
Yeah, you're right. It's okay. Flip my page here on my notes here to make sure I
Yes.
stay on track here. Ellen will yell at me. Okay, the tulips and the daffodils. Okay, need which are larger bulbs need to be planted a little bit deeper. Okay, in fact, the top of the bulb should be about 4 inches below the surface of the soil. The smaller bulbs, okay, should be about 2 inches below the surface of the soil. And most of the literature will tell you to put those larger bulbs 8 inches apart and the smaller ones 2 or 3.
Hmm.
But that depends upon what you're planning on doing, as
Right.
far as I'm
What you're
concerned.
looking for.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you're going to use them
Hmm.
as annuals, you can clump them together, and I have done that.
Hmm.
I've put them in pots, and I've dropped the pots in the
Forced.
ground and stuff
Hmm.
like that, and the bulbs are all touching each other, and they come up next
Hmm.
year and they bloom well. But if
Hmm.
you're looking for long term, those bulbs are going to divide a little bit, not divide a little bit, but they're going to produce new little bulbettes, if you will, and they need to places to grow. And remember, the pointed side of the bulb goes up. Okay,
Just like your garlic.
just like your garlic. Okay, now in some of them, okay, especially some of the summer stuff. Okay, sometimes it's hard to tell which is the pointed side,
Hmm.
but believe it or not, Mother Nature can figure this out, and she'll send the stem in the right direction and the roots in the right direction. So, and then water those bulbs if the soil is dry. They need a little bit of a moisture to kind of get started. As far as
Hmm.
spring growth is concerned, if it's things start to show early, okay, you might go out there in the
It's
latter part of
fine. Yeah.
January and you see some stems up 2 inches. What am I going to do? Just leave them alone. Mother
Right.
Nature will take care of them. Okay.
Hmm.
Then after the flowers are have blossomed, okay, remove those seed pods. You don't need that plant to make seeds. Okay, you need it to nourish that bulb down below. And once the
Hmm.
leaves have yellowed and browned out, okay, trim those leaves off. Okay, because
Hmm.
up until that time, they're really nurturing the bulbs. So, what about some
Hmm.
summer care on these things?
Yeah, summer care is kind of hard for some of us because you really need to leave those faded leaves um, there. I mean, you leave the leaves there until they're brown and faded. Then you cut them off at soil level. A lot of times when the flowers stop blooming, we like to cut them back, but don't do that. About every 3 years, then you might want to dig up those larger bulbs and separate them, or you might want to just wait until the flower or the plant is producing fewer flowers. Um, they may be replanted right away, or you might want to store what you have dug up until fall and plant them again. See how they work.
You're right. And as far as
Hmm.
diseases are concerned, that's usually not a problem with with most of these plants, most of these bulbs. But be observant, okay? If you see individual plants and
Hmm.
leaves are wilting and it's not related to some kind of cold weather event, or if the stem is twisted or the bud is a little bit distorted, remove that individual plant because it's probably got a little
Hmm.
bit of disease on it. Okay, and it happens
Hmm.
every once in a while. But if you follow some good cultural practices, the likelihood of disease are really minimal. A little care goes a long way. So, Ellen,
Okay.
we're quite a ways beyond our time here, so we have to sign off for this particular session. So, enjoy those spring bulbs.
Okay.